So I finally get done with this, get everything the way I want. Getting ready for spring to come where we can enjoy spending some time out here, and then this happens. Up to a few weeks ago, this pine tree was completely vertical. Now it's uprooted itself and it's about to fall over. So that was a little more than I could tackle. I called in professionals to take it down. Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is Brian. So I started off this with a little tree removal in our yard. So the tree's gone. Also a substantial amount of money out of our bank account's gone for that little task. But it clears everything up out here. There's a little more space, make it a little more sunlight in here. And I won't have to rebuild the pavilion when it falls down. Hopefully none of those guys get any ideas and do the same thing. Anyway, the reason we're out here is our dogs have discovered an escape route. One of them runs back and forth and barks at the neighbor's dogs and has mounded up all this dirt right here. Well, they did that back here also, so I added this one panel of fence to kind of hide the view when they let their dogs out. Well, they've since pushed this out, and where there's a splice in the fence back here, they figured out how to push through it and go on little adventures in the neighborhood without us. So I've purchased 2 more fence panels, and we'll get them scabbed on here, and that should eliminate hopefully some more of the view of the front and things to bark at, and eliminate the escape hole. First of all, I need to shovel some of this dirt back that they've pushed up, so I'll take care of that. So this top rail was an attempt to keep the fence from getting folded down, and we had a Labradoodle at one point that it'd fold down a little bit and she could just hop right over. So I added this top rail, which is non-pressure treated. I think it was actually leftover studs out of something. So it's about disintegrated anyway, so let me get this wire stripped off, then I can show what I'm gonna do to add to the post to get the additional height. So this post is cemented in the ground and it's stable enough. So my plan is I'm going to cut a notch in here, and we'll kind of do a half lap joint with another 4x4 to extend it up to the top of the fence. Previous ones I'd overlapped at about 6 inches. On second thought, I'm going to cut this top off and we'll just move down a notch and get into some better wood. Something like that. Guess one advantage of a freshly cut tree stump is you have a little workstation. She's not the straightest thing in the world, but I think it'll work. So that's sort of the intent. she's a little bit out of plumb, kind of a lot out of plumb. I think my original cut went back, and then my cut on this kind of tapers the other direction, so they're kind of making each other worse. But I think I'm good that way. I think I'll go take a little more out of this and try to square this up a little bit or undercut it, and then we should be good. All right, this is an instance where good enough is okay. Use carriage bolts for this, but I had regular hex bolts and they'll be fine. So, this way we're pretty good. Drill the other hole, put the other bolt, and then we can fine tune the lean. So we got out of that battery. Let's see. It's touching the line. I'm happy with that. Well, I gotta lift it up from here. Is that good?
Yeah.
So that's up there for now. Since when I put these posts in, I didn't really pay attention to 8-foot centers exactly, so it's a little bit off. I could either have taken one picket off and moved it back, but this will be fine. I'll just need to add some blocking like that and screw it together. And then we'll work on the next panel, but that's going to be another day. So it's the next weekend. Kind of changed my mind up a little bit. This was kind of temporary anyway, but I think what I'm going to do, since this 8-foot fence panel overhangs this post, I'm going to cut back to where I'm about the middle of the post. They're like 2 1/4 inches. That'll bring me back this way. I'll rip this board kind of in place off. That'll bring this panel back. Which will allow this one to end up in the middle of the post, and then subsequently I can work my way down. Otherwise I'm going to be off the edge of the post on every panel. So I might as well go ahead and correct that now. I made a mark and I've taken out all the screws in reasonable vicinity. So I made a line where I want to cut. I have the depth set. See how much, let's see how well I can follow that line. So it looks like I missed one screw. All right, now I can get this unscrewed. We'll continue on. So I've cut this back to where I can take a 2x4 that I've already cut to length, and I'll just sister this on the side of my original extended 4x4 post, which has a little bit of a lean to her at this point. And that'll give me something to attach this fence to correctly. So this fence panel just had 5/8 boards and 5/8 strips attaching to it, which I felt was a little flimsy. So I added 2x4s to it, actually, to make it match the existing fence, because the existing fence had 3/4 inch boards, and so anyway, to make it flush, I had to kind of pad it out anyway. So the new fence panel, I guess because they just brand source them wherever, has 2x3s attached to the back. So I'm gonna have to kind of play around with something to get the outside to line up. So I can take this piece of fence board I cut off of here, I can add it to here, or pieces of it to here, and then when I screw this panel on, it'll all match up and we should be right. And I could attach this whole strip, but I might need it in other places, so I'm going to cut some more smaller pieces and we'll get this panel where it needs to be and attached. Blocks just tacked in with some finishing nails to hold them. And of course they don't line up with all the other cross pieces on the other panels, so they have to kind of be offset a little bit. Now the challenge will be if I can get this thing up here by myself. I don't have any help today. Of course, due to manufacturing tolerances, or lack thereof manufacturing tolerances, this 2x hangs off the end where the other ones don't. So if I want to make it look flush, I'm going to have to cut that off. So let me do that. Take two. I should probably have gloves on for this. I guess I need a board at that end. Try to lift this up. I've got an idea. Go ahead and sink one screw in here temporarily. That should keep it from falling over. Now, if I can get that board out, so I have a screw at the bottom holding it. I jammed another piece of wood in the other end, which brought my top together. So now I can screw it down. Now I should be able to take that piece of wood out of the other end, and the bottom gap should close up after I take the screw out. All right, now we'll try this. So now we're flush. Ignore the top, we'll deal with that later. So now this post is roughly kind of on the center of this extended post. So I can get it screwed in. Of course, I'm going to get hosed on the next one because, again, of manufacturing tolerances. So I'll lop that one off. We'll get this one attached, and then we can move on to the next panel. So that's attached. Next, I need to peel out all this wire, which over the years has gotten buried in the ground, so I'm going to have to dig all that out. And then I'll have to sister onto this post here to do the same thing. So I guess it's the next weekend. These fence panels are kind of becoming addictive, kind of like heroin. Once you start, you can't stop. But my method of my madness is here. I've got two more, and I'm going to replace these two sections of fence. For some reason, I did not set this post on 8-foot centers. I believe the reasoning was that tree being there. So this one's 10 feet, which is fine. I can just overlap the fence panel. The problem is the next 8-foot center is going to be down here. But This post, I think, was a casualty of the tree being down and being taken out. So I'll put a fence post right about where I dropped the tape measure. I dug the hole, which was surprisingly easy. I guess it's rained that much. This is my method for setting fence posts. I have a string stretched on the outside down there and down to that post. And if this post wasn't broken off, it would still be straight. And I just match up the edge of the string, get it plumb. In the bottom of the hole, I have some gravel. Now I'll go around the outside and pour the concrete in it. Easy pour hell. Still straight?
Yes. Yeah, it's like...
In the past, I've run braces down and staked them in the ground, but I'm not so sure that's really necessary. I believe it'll be firm enough. All right, we'll let that set for a while. So it's the next day and it's pretty windy. I'm hoping this won't be too blown out audio-wise. This post is firmed up overnight. Still not 100%, but it'll be fine. Ran some bolts through that. I attached this section of fence with that 2x4. So in theory, I should be able to take the next section, lay it up on top of there, and screw that in place. So I originally had this 2x3 that holds the fence together on top of this 2x4 I joined them with. I believe with a little trimming at the bottom, which I've already done, I can just move that 2x3 to the bottom and that'll drop me 6 inches, which should correct my ground clearance issues. I didn't like how far the drop was, so I ripped the 2x4 in half. So the drop's not as far, and then I'll use the other pieces I found. I can just wedge them in like that to kind of join these two sections together. Okay, so that's secured. Now let me get that wire off there, clean up some of this mess, and then we'll try to figure out how to make the top match. Okay, so I'm hoping this will be the last time we're working on this fence project. It's been up about a week, maybe 2 at this point. We have a nice day finally and gale force wind, so I apologize for that noise. So these pickets have dog ear treatment. The existing fence has kind of an oval top to it. So this panel I replaced earlier, I did that treatment to also. So we'll figure out how to do it to these. On the previous panel, I just used some paper and taped it up there. And this time I found some cardboard. Be a little easier since I'll have 3 of them to do. So the yard drops off as it goes back, so I just lowered this whole panel when I put it in to take up the space at the ground. So of course that's going to make this scallop look a little lower, but I have to go down enough to cut the notches out of the dog ears. So that's what I did with the previous one. So we'll get a couple that are in line, and the next one will drop down. Just trace it. That's a little off. It's not exact, but that'll do. And then the pieces that I can't get to, I'll just cut from the outside. So there's the inside. So there's the outside, and those tall 4x4s, I'll just have to cut them off, and then I'll have a whole bunch of ears to come out here and pick up. Okay, so there you have it. How to install some new fence panels and take about 2 months to do it. Thanks for watching. See you soon.